How you doing, Lucas? Big week here in the Arizona sports world. I was having a bad week last weekend just after that miserable series in Tampa at the Trop, but the D-backs find a way to salvage this road trip, even more than salvage, really thrive on the road in a tough Fenway and, always sneaky Marlins team. But my week's going a lot better now that we, have seen 6 wins in a row, 2 series sweeps. Lucas, how's your week going?
It's been going great. Great news after a tough ending to that Tampa series, as you mentioned. I think a lot of it goes to that shitty fucking ballpark and just the weirdness of everything. But it's nice to see that back on a roll. We're hot again, and it looks like we are a guy. We're a player this postseason. So I'm excited. Um, you know, hoping that the guys can get back healthy, and really hoping that we can get this train keeping on moving. I was thinking before we look ahead, let's look back at some of our predictions and what we said from last week. Um, Cade, you said that the Marlins were gonna take one game. I said the Marlins were gonna take one game. As we know, we swept them, which was great. Boston, you said they'd take 2 games and lose one game, and I said they'd lose 2 games. So your prediction was more correct on that. Ended up obviously sweeping that. Both off on our predictions. Ended up being a lot better than what we expected. What do you think are some of the things that led to that?
Yeah, I think, the Miami series, ADC going off. Have yourself a day, kid. Kid was just balling out, having the home crowd there. He went to Miami, had his whole fan group there the first day, and hit the grand slam. Game one was just massive. But in that third game, I know what we're going to talk about is the Montgomery. But in that series, I really thought it was the bats. I thought in the Boston series, I think arguably probably our 3 best pitchers. Merrill, maybe not so much, just with him coming off the IL. But I think the pitching really, we haven't seen an outing from Gallen like that in a while. I know we're going to get into it later, but I thought the pitching was ideal.
Yeah,
But
his knuckle curve looked on point, and just like really seemed to kind of smooth out some of the things that we had seen earlier in the year. So, like you said, we'll jump into that. But I think we should both pick a player who we think was the X factor. Cool if you think it's ADC. I know you already talked about him, but I'm gonna mention one guy, and that's Dino. Man, he's been on fire. I think he's
yeah,
been he hit a grand slam in the Boston series. Kind of been one of the main reasons we are where we are today. I mean, just look at some of these statistics. He had 3 hits yesterday's game. Or no, this
yeah, 8 for
was
13 on the series. 8 for 13.
8 for 13. What was it, 10 RBIs or something? Um,
Mm-hmm.
really incredible. Really great. I think he's kind of been an X factor through the last 2 series and getting us where we are. I think it's those veteran players that are really important in holding up that ball club and really instilling the confidence into some of our younger guys. So props to him. I know he struggled earlier in the year. I think he's been a good signing at this point. I think we can kind of say that at this point.
Yeah, I think, he, 8 for 13, double, 2 home runs, a grand slam in there, and then 10 RBIs. When the dude has a day, Lou, he has himself a day. That we kind of see that, right? It's kind of like he either goes 0 for 4, 1 for 5, or he's going 3 for 4, 4 for 4. We've seen a 5 for 5 this year. He goes when he's seeing it well. He sees it well.
And I think it really is important. It's like something about our team is if one guy's down, like somebody else is picking him up. So I've been pleasantly surprised by that. I think that's been shocking. Just really happy. I think with the overall performance. On another side, I kind of want to shift to another topic. I don't know if you saw much about it today, but Dana White was sitting next to Tori Labello. Don't know if you
I
saw
did.
anything
I
about
did
that
see that.
and your
I did
thoughts
see
on
that.
that.
I knew he's from. I know he's from Boston. I didn't know what connection they have, but um, I'm sure obviously that was very much well planned. That Dana White was sitting right next to Torrey, and Torrey seemed like he was chatting him up the whole game. So that was pretty cool to see. Pretty cool to see. Yeah, I don't know. You're more of a UFC guy, so you probably have more of a bigger take than me.
I mean, I think it's a small thing. I just think it's cool that kind of going a little bit back and forth talking about some stuff. And I was watching Tori's post conference, and he kind of mentioned how he was they were talking about the game, and he was kind of filling in the holes, you know, kind of hinting at that Dana White's got a mind for it, and does know what he's looking at. So it sounds like Dana White is quite the ball guy. I got to do some more research into that. So I don't know. That's just an interesting side note. But let's get to the Jordan Montgomery game. Um,
Yeah,
kind of want
let's
to
get to
pose a
that game.
question. I've been active on social media, checking out what everyone's been saying about Jordan, and it's been really bad. I mean, people are saying he's got a bad attitude, and I don't necessarily disagree. People have been saying that he shouldn't be one of the starters for a few weeks now. How difficult do you think it is as Corey Lavello, the actual manager, making those decisions day in and out? Like, it's easy to sit on a computer and type and say, oh, yeah, this is what we should do. We should do this X, Y, or Z. It's just like, okay, they don't have any experience. They don't know what they're doing. At what point do you criticize Tory for maybe taking too long to do this? Or do you kind of criticize the people that are criticizing us?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Montgomery pitch in the Phillies, the first game of the Phillies, the first game they lost against, I think it was Allard. They're kind of the guy who was taken in for Ranger Suarez, and that was probably the only game I thought they were
Lefty.
going to win. Yeah, the lefty. So Montgomery, right now he's sitting at a 6.4 ERA. He's got a 1.26 WHIP.
That's
It's
career,
or 1.67 WHIP.
which is
Sorry, that was his
god
career.
awful.
Yeah, I mean, he's given up. It seems that we see Ryan Nelson and we see Brandon Pfaadt, the guys who are really excelling, throw a lot of fastballs, and the command is there. And recently with Montgomery and Gallen, I would say the fastball it hasn't been there. And he's thrown a
Yeah,
lot of curveballs. He threw a lot of curveballs in that last game against Miami, and they honestly just teed off. It was a lot of first pitch, first contact kind of game. I think they racked up 6 runs in. I think he got through 5 innings. But it was a battle. I think they made some really good defensive plays to hold them to 6 runs.
so
From
statistically over the last few games, Jordan has been one of the worst pitchers in the MLB, and he's got a
Yeah, in
negative
all of baseball.
1.6. He's got a negative, yeah, in all baseball. He's got a negative 1.6 wins above replacement. Like, why do you really not like? Why do you think it took this long to make that decision?
I think the fact is you're paying him a lot of money. And you saw him in the last couple of years be really solid, and so there's always that belief that if he figures it out, once he figures it out, he'll be fine. And he just honestly hadn't figured it out this year. I mean, I don't know if it was because of the spring training or the contract issues with his agent, Boris. I don't know. I mean, it was interesting to see. It just looks like he's struggling. I don't know why it took this long, but Ryan Nelson is by far deserves the number 5 spot in that rotation. I mean, he has thrown arguably maybe a little bit worse than Pfaadt just because the tenure over the whole season, but probably our number 2 pitcher right now with innings pitched and strikeouts. His fastball command is way above Montgomery's. It's just you're paying him a lot of money, Lucas. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think he's really turned a corner, which has been great for our franchise. Kind of looking forward, and it's a 1-year deal with Montgomery, so it's not like there was a long term kind of solution. Anyway, with that being said, it's like I don't know. I haven't I haven't seen too many interviews with Jordan Montgomery, but he seems to be a little bit egotistical about his starting spot and moving into the bullpen. So I'm kind of worried about how that transition is going to be, not from a skill standpoint, but just from a mental standpoint. Like, is he going to be up to the challenge? I mean, is he kind of done with the fan base? Is he done with the coaching staff? Like, yeah, he didn't have spring training. The excuses need to stop on both ends. And I think you put him in the bullpen, he shuts up and does his job. And I think he'd be pretty good in some of those experience. Maybe you throw him in some lower leverage stuff for now and as a long-term, reliever. I think definitely we could still have use for him, but that price tag that we paid for him was, way above it. What we needed to, we just got really lucky with Ryan Nelson in our depth, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I don't know. I haven't seen anything from his side on what his, kind of image of himself now looks like, that he's moving toward long-term relief. It could be useful. I think if you get into a spot where maybe a Fott or a Gallon just isn't having a good day and is out by the third or fourth inning, then maybe he comes in and pitches 3 or 4 innings. He is a lefty. Against, where I'm really thinking is against Philly is, you got that whole lineup that is a lot of guys who are lefties. Schwarber, Harper, Marsh, those guys where maybe he comes into that situation where you're facing a lot of lefties. So hopefully he takes it well, and hopefully he can perform, because I would assume he's going to take his player option next year for the D-backs. I don't think anyone's going to pay him $25 million to pitch a baseball after what he's done this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's kind of a bag for him, but maybe it's kind of, I don't know if it'd work out from a relationship standpoint at this point. I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it doesn't sound great. And not to say that what is said on social media is how everyone feels about everything. It's not. It's overall just not great right now. I
Yeah, I
haven't
mean, you look at
been
him,
very.
you look at him, and you look at Paul Sewald, Lucas. Those are really the only two guys that are underperforming. I mean, like, you can look at pretty much everyone on this team, and they've pretty much done what they've been asked to do. So when a team's playing really well, I'm sure you can relate to this. When your team's playing really well, and you're the one guy, or you got one guy who's letting you down, probably is not a great place to be mentally.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul
Yeah, I would
Sewald.
assume it
Did you
kind
see
of.
Paul Sewald yesterday? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yesterday
it was it
gave
was
up a
tough.
lot of hard contact. A lot
Yeah.
of hard contact.
And watching that yesterday, it kind of in my mind, I go, all right, like J Mart still needs some work, but he's the guy. Like, it's time to go over, and like
Yeah.
I'm almost convinced. Yeah, I'm convinced in a high leverage scenario, playoff scenario, you put J Mart in there because Seaworld can't do it anymore, and I think it might be almost time to move on with him after the season. It just seems like he's struggling even in some lower leverage relief scenarios. So who knows what's going to happen with him? I mean, I love Seawald for what he did last year, and I think he's still got a spot in this clubhouse right now. But I mean, everyone's got to kind of know their part, be humble about where they think they are, so that this team could potentially make another run like they did before. If Seawald is that guy, I mean, he could. Who knows? He could be that guy again. But for now, I think you start heading towards J Mart and really put him on the back burner. I don't know your thoughts on that. And I know we've already talked about this, but like,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm saying like
I think
100%.
Jamar
Like,
is. Yeah. I mean, I thought there was a chance that Sewald could potentially come back and win his job, but what after I saw, I saw it in Miami in that when I think he gave up a home run and 3 hits or 2 hits and 2 runs, and then he in Boston yesterday when he gave up that home run, he gave up a home run and then I think a double, and then got 2 lineouts and a strikeout. But you know, I think Martinez is your guy from now on, and you just got to trust that this young kid can lead you and close games.
yeah, and I think his control's still getting there, but like we got smart guys. Brett Strom's a great coach. What they talk about on the broadcast all the time is like, statistically, there's no need to throw over 100 miles per hour because you're losing control at that point and the velocity's already there. So let's focus on control. And I think it's really, everyone wants to throw gas and it's important, but like, let's really make sure that we're really utilizing this talent. We're really making sure that we can make the best of this guy because he could be one of the best guys in the leagues, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Martinez's slider sinker combo is good enough. He doesn't even need the fastball to be a closer, but he also has the fastball, and I think he sometimes just overthrows that fastball a little bit, and you can kind of see it where it's just not hitting strike zone, and that's where he gets into trouble.
Yeah, he loses a lot of control on that fastball for sure, which is tough, but you'll live with it for now until he kind of works out the kinks. I think at this point, the experience is exactly what he needs to be in these sort of situations to improve. It's time. It's definitely time. So, yeah. But with that being said, I think that kind of jumps into.
You want to talk about the acquisitions? I mean, let's talk about.
Oh yeah.
Mike. Let's talk about Mike Hazen. I mean, the guys he's brought in the past since the All-Star break have been, besides
killers.
Dylan Floro, have been killers. Killers.
But he's still a lower leverage guy. He's been pretty solid in what he's been asked to do.
Puck has been, I think, the best pitcher in the last, 25 innings. He has like a .34 ERA. I mean, that's nuts. He's given up no runs. I think I saw him give up the one run. I don't know what series that was. It was at home, but he's been absolutely nuts. And then Josh Bell hasn't been playing great the last week, but he's a placeholder, I think, at the end of the day.
And once again, I mean, to what I was kind of saying earlier, it's like we seem to have guys that pick up when other people are down, and Josh Bell seems like one of those guys. Comes in clutch when maybe somebody else isn't doing as well, and vice versa. So he's doing what he's doing. We definitely need Christian Walker back. I mean, we'll be so solid when Christian Walker comes back.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think when Gabby Moreno and when Cattell comes back, Christian Walker and Gabby, I mean, I just don't see any holes in this team. I mean, the starting pitching maybe a little, but with Gino at third base going off, McCarthy in center, Lourdes has been
just
unbelievable.
The depth. Yeah, it's been incredible.
Perdomo's hitting. I don't want him to be hitting bombs, but he's hitting a couple bombs. He hit 2 home runs in this road trip. But I mean, the team is it is deep. And how about the Guillermo guy? Big time Met, which will be interesting to see next week. I think he played for the Mets for 10 years. There's a story that he was released by the Angels and then gave a bunch of his baseballs to some local little league team in Florida, and then they called him up and said, Arizona, we're picking you up. And
interesting.
I think top 10 defensive play of the year yesterday. That play was nasty. That was nasty.
Yeah. He seems to fit in right into kind of the defensive culture that Torey Lovullo has. So that's been great. I mean, that play was incredible. It was kind of like Perdomo-esque, Marte-esque. So really cool to see that. And I think offensively too, he produced a little bit, right? I'm not too familiar with his stats, but I think he produced a little bit too, which has been great.
I think he had a couple
once
walks.
Again, just another.
I think he had a double, a single, and 2 walks in that Boston series. But he, he's going to be the primary second baseman when there's righties pitching, just because Kevin Newman has been struggling against righties. But it's been solid. It's good to see, and hopefully he can bring a little magic against the Mets. Maybe Lou.
Yeah. Should we jump into that series and talk about our predictions or what we think?
I know the Mets are playing right now. They're playing the Padres.
They're
lost
up
last
a
night.
Score right now. They're up a run right now.
Oh, they're up 1-0.
Yep.
Yeah. So
great.
I want to look at who's going to be pitching. I think it's going to be Fought.
And Maeda, who I think is their ace, right? Or not their ace, but one of their better guys.
Yeah, I think he's one of their better guys.
So he's got
I think Serviano is their ace, if I'm correct.
No, the guy from Japan who throws the ghost pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Maeda? I don't know, but it's that guy. I think he's been hurt. Um, this guy Maeda, lefty, 9-5, 3.48 ERA with a 1.17 WHIP, and has pitched 137 innings. So ERA is okay. His WHIP is pretty solid. I mean, he looks kind of like the Brandon Font equivalent of what's been producing on their team this year.
Yeah.
Brandon Font is a little bit higher ERA, slightly lower WHIP, and has pitched just a bit more with just a game worse record. So, interested to see how that one plays out. I think this will probably be more of a pitching duel, although Mets did score a lot yesterday, depending on how they kind of play today and how they end today. I think that's going to be interesting. I think we take 2 games there. I think we do lose 1 game. The Mets are kind of one of those borderline teams.
I think the Mets are going to win that middle game. That Serviano, D-backs haven't been hitting the last couple of weeks. Haven't been hitting great against righties. I shouldn't say that because they were great against righties in Boston and Miami, but statistically, they're one of the best teams against lefties. Righties, they're, I think, not as great. But that Serviano, I saw him pitch 2 days ago, I think on Thursday or Friday night. Pretty solid.
He looked good.
A lot of innings pitched. I think the one thing the D-backs can expose here again is the walks. I think a lot of these those 2 first pitchers give up a lot of walks. So if they can kind of just, again, just patient at bats, right? Just patient at bats, wearing out that starting pitching and digging into that bullpen.
I believe another X factor in that series is going to be is the Mets catcher. I believe he's healthy again. I'm blanking on his name, but he's been really solid. Power guy, young guy. I think he was a rookie last year. Watched him absolutely just destroy us with the long ball. But I think I'm blanking on his name, but he has been really solid. I think he might hurt us with the long ball again in this series. So I think with some of our guys potentially that middle game, we might have that issue for sure, like kind of what you were saying. I wonder if he's playing tonight. He is.
Yeah, and I think Rodriguez will be full. I think he'll be full tilt. I think maybe not. Maybe he'll go to 90, 95, 5.5, maybe 6 innings. Probably 6 innings, 95 pitches, trying to keep him below 100.
I think it depends.
I like Fought and Nelson. I think Fought just continues to kind of dot and kind of establish the strike zone with the fastball, and then lets the sweeper kind of off that. Should be a good series. It's going to be big just because the Mets are fighting for their life right now for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta lost today in Washington, and obviously they've put up a really good fight against the Padres.
And I think this series is especially going to be important because it leads into the series with the Dodgers, and can really stay close. 2-3 games between the Dodgers, we could potentially work up right next to them. So I think this could be a really pivotal series, and obviously with the Dodgers it would be super important. But really it's important, I think, to keep our bats hot, our bullpen ready and healthy. Not tire them out too much. Maybe we kind of, I don't know, rest some guys to really favor some of that Dodgers series, just because it's so important, but also you can't lose those Met games. I don't know. What do you think the strategy is going to be looking at the Dodgers a few games after the Mets?
Yeah, so right now the D-backs do have a 1-game lead on the Dodgers. I think that's correct. If I looked at it correctly, They have a
The
1-game
D-backs
lead.
have a 3.5 or 2.5 game
No, I
lead
mean
over
in the
us.
series, in the
Oh,
season
gotcha.
series,
In
just
the
against the
season
Dodgers.
series, gotcha,
Obviously, yeah,
gotcha.
they're 2.5 games back right now, but the Dodgers are playing right now. This is probably the season series. This could be for the division. I mean, they don't play the Dodgers again. This is probably for the division with the Padres just kind of leaking oil here recently. This series is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And I don't say that a lot, but this series is going to be could be for the division. I mean, if the D-backs can somehow find a way to win 3 games and get within half a game and have the season series, I don't know. I mean, I question that the D-backs could find a way to win that division if they're within half a game after that series.
Yeah.
Obviously, you still have some tough games coming up, but I think that series is going to be huge. It's a big homestand. I don't think Christian Walker will be back. I don't think he'll be back until the week after. I think like September 10th he's supposed to be back, so he won't be back for the series. So those guys are going to have to find a way. The Dodgers pitching has been struggling, but who needs pitching when you have Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, I mean, he's been incredible.
And the
And I
dude's
think it's going
just
to be
incredible at baseball.
I think it's going to be really interesting. And, um, you know, I'm bullish on the D-backs, but I do think the Dodgers are still going to win the division. I think as their pitching becomes more healthy, they're going to start to kind of continue to, I don't know, have a nice margin between that second place team. So, I think they will continue to get better, but we definitely need to take advantage of this situation of them being kind of hurt. And then obviously do everything we can to limit the big bats of Shohei, Teoscar Hernandez, and Freddie Freeman, I guess, too, who's been, not having his greatest season. But I think it's really time to show not just the Dodgers, because I think they already know, but really all of the MLB that this is our era and this is a new team of a Diamondbacks team that's going to be fighting for a playoff spot for the next few years unless something crazy happens. So I think it's really a national stage for us to show the world again that like we're serious and last year wasn't a fluke. And I think it makes me feel really good because I genuinely do believe that last year was not a fluke. And yeah, we do have to get hot again, but I think there's something behind the scenes and something about this culture that really thrives. And you can see it in the new guys. I mean, AJ Puck has been thriving. Guillermo, or however you pronounce his name, has been killing it already. It's just that mentality that we bring has been so important. So props to the guys for that, even if we don't win the division, which once again, I don't think we will. I think we've had an incredible season. I think the
I'm
future
going to
looks
call
really
right
bright.
here, Lucas. D-backs take the division. Right here.
Really? Wow.
Right here. After I saw what happened in Tampa, and then these next 6 games, D-backs get hot. They win the division. They take 3 at home against the Dodgers. I think they take it. I think they do it. It's 10. If the Dodgers win this year, it'd be 10 out of 11. Sometimes all good things must come to an end.
That's
I
true.
think they take it.
But here's my thing. All good things do have to come to an end, but like they spend so much money. Like statistically, they're in a place and their organization's in a place that almost no other team is in. And I think we're in a really great spot, an era of Diamondbacks right now. But that's not our. That's obviously not our strategy. And I think
I mean, we're the team that's going to come in there as a wild card team and try and upset you, the Dodgers for sure.
But what Hazen's done really well this year is finding players that are performing extremely well for their value and their age and everything. I mean, Jock is just his value is probably pretty significantly higher than what it was, coming into last season just with how he's performed. And I think some that you do have to credit to the Diamondbacks culture, but Hazen's done a great job finding guys who are not necessarily the flashiest, biggest names, but are really good and have a lot of value. And I think that's why we do so well. And that's our strategy is just targeting those value players like AJ Puck and, you know, some of the other guys we've just been able to pick up. You know, not everyone's going to be great. Montgomery obviously was kind of a flop, but man, I'll take fucking 5 solid guys and 1 ass guy, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. So I think that's been great. So wait, I just want to go back. Our predictions. Do you say 2 games? They're losing the middle
Yeah,
game for
I
that
say I'm going to take
series.
the D-backs take the bread games in the Mets series,
Yep.
and then they
What do you think about
somehow
the Dodgers?
find a way to win 3 games against the Dodgers. Find a way.
So is it a 4-game series or 3?
It's a 4. I think it's a 4-game series.
It's a 4-game
I think it
series.
goes. I think it goes through Monday. Let me check on that.
It's a 4-game series. It is a
It
4-game
is a
series.
4-game series. Yes.
I'm gonna say that we also take 3. It's at home or no? It's away, right?
Yeah, it's at home. It's at
Okay.
Chase.
Yeah, I really like it. I think we take 3. I think we take 2 against the Mets. I think we take 3 against the Dodgers. I'm right there with you. Pivotal series. I think we're going to be up to the mentally to come up to the plate and really knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be a fun couple days of baseball coming up. They're off to tomorrow, and then I think they play the next 13 days. 3, 4, 3, 3. They play till the 11th, so 11, 15 days in a row. They will play 15 days in a row. So this is definitely a big stretch of baseball right here at the end. 15 in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I looked at the stats on ESPN, giving us like a 98% chance of making the playoffs. So obviously feeling good about that, but it can change in a week or 2. I mean, if we really
Yeah.
start losing, you never know. So, got to stay strong and really hope for the best over these next few series. It's not like we're getting some easy teams. These are some of the most difficult teams in the conference that we play. So, we'll definitely see
Yeah, I
how
mean, I
that
think
goes.
one thing I want to bring up that I haven't really heard anyone talk about a lot is D-backs have 706 runs scored this year. The closest team is the New York Yankees at 669. So almost 35. What is that? No, 37 runs behind. I mean, that's a lot of runs. And I know you're a big
Yeah.
offensive guy. I mean, the production from the team is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like we're not different from last year, but kind of an evolved team. We've had injuries with the pitching, so I don't think it's fair to say that we've downgraded there. I actually do think we've upgraded with Erod. He's still been solid, and Kelly is still been good, although he's coming back from that injury. So I think we've kind of flipped the scripts, and once again, the signings have really boosted our numbers from our home runs and our OPS, which has been kind of one of the biggest failures we had last year. I think we just had a really solid team. We just needed a few guys to come in there and boost the confidence and boost some of the stats. Jock has done that. Randall's been decent. So I really think it was just the home run number. I think I don't know the numbers, but if I had to guess, I think the majority of our runs are probably almost home runs, and that's
The
been
long
the
ball is
majority of
certainly in play.
yeah. So that's been great. I also think Corbin getting on base a lot has been the difference from what we saw earlier in the year. When he's on base, our whole team kind of turns and kind of works around him just because he's such a big threat. And same with Jake McCarthy, who's kind of been seems like he's maybe better than Alec Thomas when he was good at the end of last season. What are your kind of thoughts on him? I mean, he's just been so solid.
Jake has been certainly over the course of the season. I thought Alec Thomas was a good center fielder, and defensively, Jake is starting to close that gap just because he's getting more playing time at center. But his bat, I mean, the dude is just hot. I mean, you give him 500 at bats. I mean, he's been touching the ball up. I mean, he's been killing it. He's been killing it. He's starting to, and he's got 8 home runs or 9 home runs in I don't know how many games he has. I think it's 80. But he's starting to hit the long ball, and once he starts to find that, he's dangerous. I mean,
So
he can run the bases well.
where do you think he slots in the lineup when Catel's back? Because I would say I really do like having the speed threat of Corb and McCarthy at 1 and 2. I think that kind of makes our offense very formidable. Beginning of the game today, Corbin got on base with that single, and then Jake hit into the double play. But it's those kind of opportunities that I think really shakes up the game, especially with us being scoring so many runs in the first inning, and we've been probably the best in the MLB. So where do you think Jake kind of slots into that lineup with Cattell and maybe a healthier lineup?
I think it really depends on lefty versus righty pitcher, but I think Corbin against righties will always be batting leadoff. Just
I agree.
against righties, he's just nuts. I think against lefties, I think you probably put Cattell first and then maybe Jake. I don't know. I'd like to see Jake maybe in the leadoff spot a couple times before Cattell comes back, because I think Cattell in the 2-hole against the lefties is probably better. Jake against the lefties has just been nuts. And then obviously you have Jock, and then maybe, I don't know. It's so dependent on righties versus lefties. I mean, I think righties, it's going to be Corbin, Cattell, Jock, and then Christian Walker at 4, and then maybe Jake at 5. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because it's so righty-lefty dependent, right? I think
Yeah.
Torrey's been a big platoon guy, and that's
Yep.
honestly paid off. It's paid off.
It has. It has. But I think the way Jake's playing right now, he's not really a platoon guy. I mean, I think he's kind of the starter, whether it's a righty or a lefty. And yeah, you definitely got to tweak that lineup depending on the matchup for sure. I mean, sometimes we see Corb drop into that like 7-hole on the lefties.
Yeah, on the lefties.
But in the playoffs, in the playoffs, was Corb hitting 1 for lefties? Wasn't he? I thought he was, right?
He was. He was hitting 1 no matter what. He was hitting 1 pretty much no matter what.
So I'm kind of wondering, in those sort of situations, potentially, are you thinking about loading up the speed with McCarthy? I don't know. But then again, it's like, who knows if McCarthy is still going to be there in the playoffs if we do get there. I think there's still kind of a hot streak. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, we saw like Kevin Newman really kind of cool down this year, and he was really, really hot early on. So who knows if this is going to continue. I really hope it does, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think once Cattell comes back, I think the lineup really fills up just because second base kind of gets taken out and Cattell can play second. You don't really have any more infield questions. Obviously, there's going to be some questions with Christian Walker against righties, maybe Josh Bell. I don't know. Josh Bell hits better against lefties, so will he be a backup first baseman? Maybe they keep him on just because they want to sign him to next year because Christian Walker might leave.
Maybe.
Christian Walker, and then I think you have Lourdes, Jake, Corbin, and then you have Christian, Cattell, Perdomo, Suarez, and then you have Gabby, I think, behind the back. And then you might have the best backup catcher in the league.
Yeah. I mean, he's been incredible. But I think Christian is. There's no way you platoon him at all. He's been way too good. I mean, he's hitting righties and he's hitting righties and lefties. It's no question.
It's just going to be interesting to see what happens after this injury. Hopefully he's the same guy.
Hopefully comes back
healthy. It might take him it might take him 2 weeks to be back, and unfortunately, we won't have 2 weeks to be like, you have 2 weeks to go out there and kind of do what you want. But he's going to have to get ready fast for the postseason.
Yeah, dude. But I think we got an interesting next few weeks coming up for baseball. Really excited for that. I was thinking maybe we pivot and talk about a little bit of college football for the last kind of few minutes we have on the pod. So, did you watch?
I didn't watch. I only watched the Georgia Tech game. I mean, how mad were you have been if you were a Florida State fan? You went out to Ireland and they lost.
Dude, it's interesting because mad. To answer your question, mad.
Yeah,
Very mad. I mean, they sued. Didn't FSU sue NCAA for not getting in last year, and then they
I think
lose?
there was some allegation of that. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like it looks bad on them, and kind of looks bad on the ACC, which I'm personally bummed about. Although Georgia Tech looks pretty decent, but I think, man, I think it's tough. Uh, Tough for Florida State. They got outclassed, outplayed. Their quarterback transfer from Oregon State played at Clemson before that. Just really did not look that great. Really early in the season though, so I don't think it's fair to like completely count them off. But just really not good for what they were proposing and what they thought of uh, last year. But man, I heard about how Florida State's run game was supposed to be killer, was not good. Their defensive run game was supposed to be great, was not there. Um, and talk about a running masterclass from Georgia State. They stuck to a plan.
Georgia
Their
Tech.
quarterback, or Georgia Tech, sorry, yeah. Their quarterback too, man. He was really solid, kind of with a dual threat option, running the ball a lot, man. It's just cool that college football is back, and it was nice to see
Yeah,
a few competitive games, but definitely a competitive game. Good for Georgia Tech getting that win. Definitely excited. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of the game, so I don't have a ton of input. But certainly Georgia Tech gave it to Florida State, and um, Georgia teams are killing Florida State right now. Last two games they've
Yeah,
played, they've been getting killed by Georgia teams. So I did see that Montana State beat New Mexico. New Mexico, the Lobos, as a
was
I
that a
think they were
comeback game? I didn't watch it.
plus 400 underdog
Whoa.
comeback. I mean, what a Cinderella story to come back and win that game. So that was cool to see. But no, I watched the Padres last night get killed by the Mets, and the Mets killed them. So didn't
Yeah, I
didn't
saw
watch.
the score on that
I'm
game.
ready for football. I'm ready for big football next week.
Yeah, me
Speaking
too.
into football, Cardinals are playing right now, preseason game against the Broncos. I think Desmond Ritter and Clayton Tune are fighting for that backup job. What's kind of your take on maybe who's going to win that job? Do you really care who wins that job? Do you have any input?
Yeah, I haven't kind of looked at the last week or so, but Desmond Ritter looks like he's been sucking. It looks like Clayton Two's kind of stepped up, so trading for Desmond Ritter looks like it was a mistake. Um, but kind of glad that Clayton Tune's stepping up. It looks like we kind of maybe have a guy in him as a backup. I don't think he'll ever be uh, a long term starter. Really, hopefully not
Yeah,
a starter at all. No offense. Um, but yeah, I think he'll come and potentially learn a lot, develop a lot behind the offense coordinator, just kind of seeing how Kyler Murray does, and maybe he gets in and plays this year just because of the injury history with Kyler Murray, which kind of leads me to ask a question: is like if Kyler Murray gets hurt this year and kind of struggles, do you look at moving on from him, or like what what is your thesis on
how are
that?
you gonna? Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like we said last time, there's if you're gonna pick up a quarterback, you should have picked him up last draft, and
Agreed.
you're gonna basically eat that money, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna pick that up, so you're stuck with him. I know you have a lot of belief in him. I am still on the fences. I want to see him this year in a full starting season with Gannon and what he's going to do. A little bit better offensive line, and we'll see what the production kind of makes out of it. I'm excited to see some Cardinals football games, Lou.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I mean, I think we're gonna get handed to by the Bills, but excited just honestly excited for football in general, but really excited
Yeah,
for hopefully a 6 to 8 win season. Um, I don't know.
hopefully, hopefully
So
we'll
that
see
would
what
be big.
happens. I mean,
Yeah.
you excited about some fantasy? Are you excited about some fantasy football, Lou?
Yeah, I am excited. Who do you think is your who's your like X factor player this year? Who do you think's gonna have a big fantasy football year?
Big breakout year. Totally blanking. Running
Sorry to
back
put
for
you
the
on the spot.
Jets. Yeah, running
Oh,
back for the Jets. Why can't I think of
what's
his
his
name,
name?
Lou?
I'm blanking too.
I think he is going to be absolutely terrorize the league with Aaron Rodgers behind center, and I think they're going to have a lot of pass game with Gardner, but the run game I think is going to be the separator for why that team makes the playoffs because their defense is so
Yeah.
good. They're going to be running the ball a lot, just because of the fact that I think they're going to have I think they're going to be having the lead a lot.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think he's going to be a killer. I still can't remember his name, but Breeze, right? Breeze something.
Brees Hall.
Breeze Hall. Breeze Hall.
Do you have an
Yeah, I
X
mean,
factor, Lou?
dude, I don't know. I'm gonna give you my Cardinal X Factor, fantasy football Cardinals X Factor players that I think are gonna outperform what they're projected, and I'm gonna focus on the wide receivers. You're probably gonna think I'm gonna say Marvin Harrison. I think he's gonna have a good season. I think Michael Wilson is gonna be a fantasy football sleeper. I think he's gonna be a guy. He's
Yeah.
our number 2 guy. I think he's gonna score some touchdowns. He's kind of a deep threat. He's a really smart guy. I've just become a big fan of watching his interviews, and I think he is kind of the leader of what our offense is going to be. So I'd definitely say Michael Wilson is going to be a guy for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think once they start to see Marvin Harrison, they might have to have a double on him or maybe a cover guy where he's going to have to be looked at by 2 guys. Wilson's going to see the ball a lot.
Yeah. No,
So
I couldn't agree more. I think it's gonna be awesome, and just excited to see what this new offense is gonna do. Trey Benson too, our backup running back from FSU. I think he'll get a lot of carries this year. I think he'll be kind of not an X factor, but he'll be a factor in our offense. Hopefully, kind of allow James Conner to be good at the things that he's good at, scoring touchdowns. So, really excited for this offense. With that being said, I think this is kind of a make or break year. And Gannon might also start to become in the hot seat if he doesn't perform to somewhat the standard is this year, just because you're as healthy as you've been in the last few years. I mean, we made the playoffs with Cliff Kingsbury a few years ago. Totally different office, kind of totally different team, but
yeah,
a lot of holes. But we're not too far off, and I think a lot of teams are kind of in that same category. So, really crucial year for our coaching staff, and hoping the best for him, for Gannon, and really everyone.
yeah. I'm looking forward to the season. We got one more preseason game after. I think they're down right now, 14-0. So that's not a good look. But I know preseason football is just
Preseason games don't matter.
irrelevant.
No, the scores don't mean anything.
The Broncos are trying to get Bo Nix ready.
Yeah.
So they play. They play one more game, or are they done after this week?
Cards.
Yeah, the Cards.
They're done.
They're done. So they play. They play on the 8th. The Bills in Buffalo. That should be good.
Yikes.
That should be good. We got 2 weeks. I think that's 2 weeks from today. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yikes. Yeah. Interesting to see how that's going to be. Do you have, how about this? Do you have a bet prediction on that game? A prop? You could take the line. What are we thinking about?
I don't even know if the line's out right now, Lou.
I believe it is.
That's how
We can
far
talk. We
ahead.
can talk about
it is
it.
out. Oh,
it
it's
is definitely
6.
out.
It's +6. It has moved from +6.5 to 6.
That's an interesting line.
Looks like some people are buying into the under and the Cardinals, actually, which is interesting. I think Bill's going to be coming out hot. So I honestly probably would take the Bills here. I don't know. I mean, you know how I think the season's going to start. I think it's going to start a little rough for the Cardinals. I think they're going to get their teeth knocked in.
See, I do agree with you, but I also think we just don't know if the Bills are going to be what they used to be. A lot of drama with Stephon Diggs, so maybe that might be
Yeah,
advantageous for them. But
I think that their
they don't really
tight
have a
end is going to
receiving
be
core, dude.
their tight end
They got
might be the best tight end in the league.
Knox. He's
Yeah,
good for sure.
he's going to be really good.
But their receivers aren't great, which is definitely, I
No,
think, going to be an issue for them. And I think they're kind of just going to eat us up on in the trenches of the game. And I think they cover that spread. I think they win by minimum 7 points, probably 2-3
interesting.
scores. Yeah,
Wow, so you're talking a blowout.
not a
Interesting.
blowout. I'm thinking minimum 7 points.
10 points is an NFL blowout.
Is
I
it?
think 2
I
scores
guess
is an
so.
NFL blowout. 14 points is a blowout.
Then I think it's going to be a blowout. By that definition, I do think it's going to be a blowout.
Wow. I thought the Cardinals could have a
Yeah.
chance of covering, but now you might have me worried. I honestly think they could keep it within a 1-score game.
Maybe, but if Josh Allen is just Josh Allen, like our defense is not stopping that. We don't got edge rushers to get to him.
No edge rushers. Yeah,
They're going to destroy us. It's going to be kind of an offensive shootout, would be my guess. And not to say it's going to be all passing. Like, it's going to be probably a run-heavy game on maybe both teams, because I watched some preseason of the Bills, and once again, I don't know. I probably shouldn't even be making preseason, regular season comparisons. They don't even do the same things. But we're going to have a run-heavy offense, so we'll see how that goes. I like it. I think it's good strategy for where we are right now and for kind of the people we have around our team. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So the next time we'll talk, maybe we'll do a little special presentation on Friday before that Dodgers series. If not, we'll talk maybe Sunday after the game, before the final game. But the exciting few weeks of action coming up, and then we got the long football season and hopefully some postseason baseball, Lou. So I'm looking forward to it, breaking it down with you.
I just got to give
any
a quick shout out.
Any other takes this week?
Yeah, I got to give a quick shout out to the SMU Mustangs for a tough victory in Reno, Nevada. We were a 27.5-point favorite, and our quarterback looked like shit in the first half. We were kind of subbing in and out our starting and backup quarterback, because our backup quarterback, Kevin Jennings, had won us the AAC conference title last year. So the coach said pregame that he wanted to get him some snaps. I thought that was a big mistake. I thought Preston Stoner, starting quarterback, broke his tibia last year, so he hasn't played since November. He needed the reps. He looked a lot better in that second half. But yeah, props to him.
Win a close one, 29-24. Mustangs take it.
Yeah, they did win that. That would have ruined our series at halftime. I mean, ACC Twitter was eating us up, and we deserved every bit of it. But we pulled out the win. That's all that matters. Week by week, got Houston Christian next week. Should be an absolute battering. And then we got BYU at home after that. So we could definitely
couple exciting games for the Lucas.
We could definitely jump into that college football season next time, but excited about that, and excited about some other matchups. We'll talk next time.
Perfect. All right, Lou. It's been good talking to you. We'll reconvene here soon, hopefully with some D-backs wins, maybe a little season high series win streak, maybe 7, maybe 8. We'll never know.
Maybe some J-Mart magic will continue to shine and win us games too.
Exactly. All right, we'll catch you soon, Lou.
All right, brother.